Hi, welcome back to Agile Scrum Kanban presentation. This is Satyadev. In the last video, I talked about Agile ceremonies, where we talked about sprint planning, daily Scrum, uh, uh, and then retrospectives, and review meeting and grooming. So these are the ceremonies that happen, and we also discussed about when a ceremony would start and all that stuff. Now, in this presentation, I'm going to talk about estimation and various estimation techniques that are used in agile models. One thing I would like to emphasize is these techniques that I'm going to talk about in this presentation are not just Scrum or Kanban techniques. They are applicable to general any agile methodology techniques, right? Uh, so these are the things. Now, before going into the what how to do it, estimation and all that stuff, let's talk about what is estimation and when do we do in the estimation, what's been followed in waterfall model and how agile is different. Those things we will discuss. Okay. Now, what is estimation? Estimation is nothing but when it comes to software development, uh, so projects like SDLC, software development lifecycle, nothing but how much time would it take to complete a task. Now, in the context of development, here when we are talking estimation, estimation means it how much time would it take to complete building the software and give it to the production. Now that's what estimation here. Now analysis phase, design phase we are not considering. We are considering the estimation, only the development, testing and deployment phases only. Right. So that's what. Now we talked about what is estimation and we talked about what we are going to estimate. Now why do we need to estimate and how waterfall model used to do, how in agile we are doing, that's what we are going to discuss. um, we need estimations because we want to know when we are going to build the software and put it to the production, right? So because customer has a timeline where he has to deliver the product to his own customers or his own clients, so that he should have an understanding of this is the time frame in which the development team is going to build and give it to them. So that's the main purpose of doing estimation in software development lifecycle when it comes to development, testing, and deployment. So this estimation is very, very important. Now, how it used to be done in waterfall model? Well, we already talked about waterfall model and how the processes goes, right? So when it comes to waterfall model, most of the time customer declares the deadline. Like I want this software to be delivered so by so and so time. This is how he will tell. Now he or she will tell. Now the challenge with that is without having a clear understanding of what's being done, what's happening, it is difficult to do estimation because in the waterfall model, the process is analysis, design, um, and then development, testing, and now in agile also we do the same thing but short cycle, right? But let's focus on waterfall model. So after design, whether it could be HLD, high level design, or low level LLD, right? So we will have a picture of what's going to be done, but in reality, unless we start working on something, we really don't know how much time, is it going to be an easy thing or is it going to be a difficult thing or is it going to take more time than expected. These things, we don't know until we start developing. This is one of the challenges of the waterfall model. The estimation for software development is done after the low level design documents are delivered, right? So but based on the low level design documents, people estimate and then they go to HLD, so they will give total estimation for the development from the documents. Now the challenge, like I said, is that this is all assuming that assuming that these are the things that are going to happen in this fashion. Now in reality what happens is, sometimes the tasks that we think that are very easy to do, they're not really. They could take more time, or there could be a hidden challenge, or there is a blocker for on somebody else. Maybe we need to buy a software which is not, you know, um, you know, actually not an easy thing to do because of so much bureaucracy we have, or it could be something like we are depending on some other team where there are certain problems and challenges that are making them not to be able to help us immediately. So there are so many challenges in a collaborative environment, right? So collaboration means involving multiple teams and multiple people. So when it comes to multiple people, there's going to be definitely going to be problems. So in reality, if you think that a certain task can be done very quickly, it may not be. At the same time, certain tasks which we think that could take a lot of time could be done pretty easily. So it's possible either way. So how can we decide, right? It's not easy to decide exact time frame, but we can provide an guesstimation, like we can provide a guess on okay how much time it is going to be. So in waterfall model, the estimation happens after the entire design is done, including the low level, but that's based on the design of the product. Now the challenges with that is I'm going to compare waterfall and agile. The challenges is they are based on the perspective of the developer tech leads, but they are not from the actual developers who does the code. That is one challenge. Now, compared to waterfall model, in agile model, they think that let's not go with that model. Let's do slightly different way, not slightly, but let's do it in a different way. That's where agile has a different way of doing estimation. So I think now we understand why we need what is estimation, why we need estimation, and how waterfall model does that, and what are the main challenge in that. Now let's start with when do we need to estimate in agile. In a waterfall, I already told you the estimation happens after the design is confirmed. Now in agile, the estimation start, I would say, like two places. One is at a feature level, another is at a story level. Now in my previous presentations, I already talked about the process, the Scrum process of how things would happen, Agile process of how things would happen normally. I just briefly summarize the same thing. The actual project initiation starts from business team. Product manager gives the requirement, and that requirement will be analyzed and make it into features with the help of product owner, who is the technical manager or technical person for the actual development team. So the product manager and the product owner, they sit together and they, along with some other business team members, they create features. Now once the features are done, those features are taken based on the importance quarter by quarter. That's also we discussed in the last presentation. So let's say there's a big project in that there are 100 features. Now out of 100 features, this year the company may want to deliver like 10 features. Now out of 10 are 12 features. Out of 12 features, they want to develop 3 features in each quarter, like 4 into 3, 12 features, like, right? So now every quarter the business owner, business project leader and product owner, product manager and the product owner, they sit together. They discuss these features, and they come to a conclusion. These features, how much time it would take. That's one place where the estimation happens. So this is the estimation where at a high level, the feature level, it happens between the product owner and the product manager. Product manager is the business guy who talks to the business team and their own customers. And product owner is the actual engineering team member, where he leads the development team, or actually he owns the product as a technical perspective, technical standpoint of view. He owns that. So the product owner and product manager, they discuss and they come to some kind of estimation on the feature level. Right? That's the feature estimation. That's one time where the estimation happened. Now, when it comes to development, I just said, as we took the example of 12 features in a year, where 3 features per quarter, right? So these 3 features are estimated by the product manager and product owner. Now, when it comes to implementing them, the way it works is either they could start the 3 features parallelly, or they could start 1 feature at a time. That depends upon the need and the requirement and the context. Let's say they took 1 feature first. The engineering team took 1 feature first. Now what happens is the product owner, again the product owner is the engineering side manager or owner, leadership where he owns the product from the technical perspective. Product manager is the business perspective owner. Owner is the technical perspective owner. So the product owner discuss with the development team members in the sprint planning meeting. Okay, this is the feature. Let's break this feature into several stories. They break this story into several stories. Each story, I think I already told you about. Story is nothing but one piece of work that needs to be done. Now, each story they will take, and the team members actually decide on how much worth the story is. That's the estimation that is done by the team members. So I think it's clear now that how Agile does the estimation. It's not at the design level. It is done at two levels. One is at a high level feature level. Another is at low level at story level. So that's how the things would work in Agile model. Now let's see what are the Agile estimation techniques that are there. Now, so the same thing. In Agile model, estimation stands for an educated guess for coming up with a value that represents the effort based on the clarity and the complexity. Now, it is almost similar to estimation in waterfall model. That as far as the definition is similar to waterfall model definition, but there is a difference. For completing a work item such as feature array, user story. So, like I said, estimation can be for a feature array, user story. So, the basically what we estimate is let us take up a story. Now, a story, I think we already discussed that a story should have a definition of. They should have in the playbook. They should have a definition of done when a story is completed. It's not just development is done. It has to be unit tested by the developer. It has to be QA'd. It has to be security tested. So many, whatever we describe in the done definition of done, they all have to be applied onto the story for its completion. Then only it is done. It's not just coding done. No, it's the feature story is not done. No, it's not like that. A story is done only when whatever items that are specified in the definition of done are check mark listed. Yes, this is done. This is coding is done. Unit tests are there. They are passing. QA tested, performance tested, whatever, the security tested. All these things that are defined in the definition of done based on the project, they have to be followed. Once the definition of done is done, that is done. Estimation value can be arrived based on three factors. Elicited information, that means given by whoever, this could take this much time kind of thing by team members and stuff like that. Second is previous experiences, like based on previous experience, how much time took, and the documentation. So there is certain documentation that says this could take this much time kind of stuff. The certain projects they do have documentation on what piece would take what kind of time. So these are the three models. Now, when it comes to comparing with Agile with waterfall model, in Agile, the interesting part is the estimation is not done in terms of days. Whereas in a waterfall model, the estimation is done in terms of days. For example, in waterfall model, there are certain, let's say, low-level design document says there are 100 functions need to be written. On average, they will say this development of this function could take maybe 3 days. This could take 5 days. Like that, they accumulate all the numbers. They say finally this would take this much 100 days or 300 days. Since we are 3 developers, divide by 300 days. Like that, they come to a conclusion, right? So, so that's how they do. So in waterfall model, there are absolute estimations. They are measured in days. Whereas in Agile, they are not absolute estimations. That's the interesting fact. I will talk about why they are not absolute. How do they do it in the next slide? But they are relative with respect to other items in the project, and they are actually bucketed, like in the sense that in waterfall model, they'll say this feature, this story, this ticket or this function takes 3 days. Here, this story belongs to this bucket in Agile model. This belongs to this bucket, and those buckets could be sometimes small, medium, large, or they could be sometimes like some other way of representing them. The good part about Agile estimation is even if the estimation is wrong, the impact is going to be minor, because the Agile cycle we can always shorter as well as the way that we are estimating is through comparison, like I said in the first point, relative with respect to the other item. So even if we are wrong, we are not going to be wrong by miles. We are going to be wrong by few things, little bit. So in a way, we are covered, unless we have done something terribly wrong. Now, what's the benefit of estimation? I think I already discussed. Provides an idea on duration for completing the work, which is useful for planning. Yeah, and estimate more. While estimation, there could be more questions asked by the team, and that could actually, make the requirements more solid. The product owner could go back to the product manager and say, okay, these are the team's questions, and these make sense to me because whatever you told me in the beginning and what you have given me may not be correlating, and there is some conflict. That way, I think they can solidify the requirement and they will have more clarity. So, process of estimation could bring in clarity for the product. Whereas in a waterfall model, this concept is not at all there. There is no going back and asking, right? Just calculate something, just work on it. That's process. Whereas another thing is estimation process could uncover high risk and complex tasks, which is useful for, yeah, I mean, similar to the second one. While planning, develop engineers might say, developer engineers might say, yeah, this is very risky. It's not as easy as the product manager thinks or product owner thinks. It is complicated because these are the technical issues or these are the security issues. Those kind of things can be uncovered, and even if it is a small thing, it could be, for example, hosting a website. It's a small thing actually. You just need to put that jar in some place and you expose it. But when it comes to security, there are so many things we need to take care, make it HTTPS, all that stuff, they might be added by the development. So these are the benefits of estimation. Now let's talk about various estimation techniques. As I said, there are two places we do estimation in Agile normally. One is at a feature level, another at two levels we do estimation. One is a feature level, another is at a story level. Now, there are firms which actually start Agile pretty new. For those firms, the first technique is used, which is called the bus technique, which is like big, uncertain, and small. So this technique is normally used by, like I said, companies that just have started to become agile. Small user stories are bite size and easily workable. So basically based on the work, they will say, hey, this is a small one. Again, it doesn't mean that it can be done in 1 day or half day or 1 hour or 2 hours. No, they don't say anything about it. It's a small work, which that means the risk of doing the task is very minimal, and it can be done very easily, fluently. So, I mean, there are no big, hurdles or anything in the task. It's a small one we can do very easily. That's what a small story means. Stories in the big bucket may need to be further broken. Sometimes there are stories which are big, right? There could be people won't understand them immediately. There seems to be, a lot of complex things which even the engineers doesn't know, product manager doesn't know, even project product manager also doesn't know. So they just put them as a big bucket. Again, big bucket doesn't mean that it could take more time. It could take less time or it could take more time. Doesn't matter. It's a complex one, right? That's what it means, big bucket. And the third one is uncertain. Sometimes we don't know at all what is this is. So that's kind of uncertain bucket. They'll put it in the uncertain bucket. Now, items in the uncertain bucket means that they are certain, unclear, and uncertain items are present. So these items are worked by the product manager and the product owner. Whereas the big bucket tickets, they make into the team further delve into them and make them into small pieces and make them small tickets. That is one way of doing the thing. And normally in the agile model they do that. The second more technique is the t-shirt sizing. Well, this technique is actually used in estimating the features, because you know feature is, as I told you in the earlier presentation, a feature is nothing but a particular piece of work that completely usable by the customer. Like complete, it's a story is like a small thing. For example, let's say there is a website that needs to be created, right? In that website, let's say there are 3 pages: login page, the actual main page, and final page is after ending. You have to provide some inputs, like how the input requirements or something like that, like feedback kind of page. 3 pages are there. In that context, a feature is like develop login page. A story is like develop login page. The second one is provide do the functionality page. Third one is get the feedback, create the feedback. These are the 3 stories. All the 3 stories come under create a website, XXX website, whatever website is, website for this purpose. That could be a feature, right? This website could be part of another website or could be part of something else, right? That's a feature. So a feature is basically a complete piece of work. But in its entirety it may not be complete, but it gives a complete piece of work of functionality of a product, right? So that's what a feature is. So there is a big product, in that there is one functionality. I think we already discussed about Word document to PDF converter, right? So that's what it is. Now normally t-shirt sizing is used for features. Normally t-shirt size are access. The actual identification of or bucketization of features are access. Access means extra small. S means small. M means medium. L means large. XL means extra large. Each work item is compared to other work items that are assigned with t-shirt size and completed. Normally, t-shirt sizing technique is used for estimating features, not for user. I think I already told you. Yeah, so basically t-shirt sizing says that this is a small feature. That means it may or may not have more than 2 3 stories or 5 stories. Again, we cannot commit on the number, but it might not, there will not be great work, a lot of work, but at the same time, even if it is a small story or extra small story, it finishes something. Normally, from my experience, what I have seen is that access stories or small stories, they are used for security kind of works, because they are deterministic. At the same time, the process is clear, what needs to be done. Only thing, and the tools are, everything is available for the security. Only thing is just apply the tools onto the product, right? So normally they are like a small or extra small stories. Medium, large or extra large stories are actual business functionality. Again, there is no rule or anything like that. This is just based on my experience that XS and SL mostly we use for non-engineering and non-business work related stuff, like probably engineering related work. Sometimes refactoring, right? Refactoring also could come under small story or excess small story. So most of the time they are not given with the product managers. They are created by the engineering teams themselves. Again, I think engineering teams themselves can create features and stories based on the need and requirement, right? So no, that's what it is. Yeah, that's t-shirt sizing. As I said, t-shirt sizing is normally used for feature. The last one is Fibonacci sequence. Here I want to introduce one point called story points. I told you that in waterfall model, estimation is done through days. This function, development of this functionality or function could take 5 days, 3 days. Here we don't call them as days, we call them as points, story points. Now, are they similar to number of days? No way. One point appears to be one day. It need not be. It could be 1 hour also. Now, how do they come to this number? Normally they use Fibonacci numbers. This technique uses abstract numbers to represent estimation E of the work item by using the formula n is equal to n minus 1 plus n minus 2. This is where n is the index of numbering we used, and the first 2 estimations are 1 and 2. So the sequence could be like 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 20. You said this is just a Fibonacci series, right? So normally this estimation technique is used on user stories. Like I said, for user stories we use this. Each user story is compared against other user story. This is also very, very important. Other story that is completed has the same estimation value. Idea behind giving these numbers is the team should try to break the user stories appointed as 8 or more into further small stories. Now, what does it mean? Now, how do they come up with, okay, this is a 1-point story or a 3-point story or a 8-point story? Now, they do it by not by the content, by comparing it. How do they compare? Let's say they just started, like a team just started a brand new project, right? So once the project they divide into features, and features are converted into user stories. Stories are there. Stories contain details, description, acceptance criteria, a definition of done is defined. Everything is there. Only thing is they are not estimated. Only thing is they are not estimated. So in order to do the estimation, what they would do is they will start a very simple work, and make it as unit story. Like this could take like, okay, this just a started work and they will work on it. Well, behind even days could be is used by people. Days are there in the back of the mind, but normally they define very unit work, like this is the smallest work we can have in this project. They call it as unit 1 point. Now based on that they will compare other story. Okay, if this story, the very basic story takes 1 unit, how many points it could take? 2 points, 3 points? There is no 4, right? There is 5 points or 8 points. Like that they will compare. So compare, and okay, this is a 3 point story. This is a 8 point story. Like that. There is a 13 point story. Normally, again, Fibonacci series is an unlimited series. We can't have unlimited numbers for the story points. Normally, the practice, I have seen and I have followed in my previous roles is that anything beyond 8, actually we will try to convert them into smaller stories. The reason is, if practically one story point could be 1 hour or 1 day, or 2 hours or 12 hours, it could be anything, like 8 hours, it could be anything to everything. It can justify that. But normally what happens is, an 8 point story as it is, when you compare with 1 point story, is 8 times bigger, right? So that means the complexity is 8 times bigger. Those kind of stories, even if it is, you can't take 15-minute stories and 1-minute story, right? So they're meaningless. You can't do anything. If you want to do anything reasonably well, at least you need 4 hours in software development, right? 4 hours. It could be minimum to 4 hours or something like that. Now, 8 point story, let's say it's a minimalistic thing. Let's go for 4 hours. 8 into 4, 32 hours. That means how many days it's going to take? 32 hours means 4 days, right? 4 days, because in a day 8 hours only the working time. So 4 days. Now that means a story worth of 4 days. Now this is done. This has to be done by a developer, right? And there could be a number of stories. Like there could be 10 stories or 12 stories in a sprint. Sprint means like it could be normally 2 weeks. Now, if a story is taking 4 days, estimate. So if a story it takes like 8 points, that is 4 days, in practicality, it's not good to have that kind of more than 4 days. It's not good to have it, because it could go a little bit more, and only one person is tied up with that. That means the knowledge of the story is more, that only one person knows about it. So that's the reason people avoid stories beyond 30 points. So
Okay.
that's how the Fibonacci sequence is used for estimating this. Like I said, t-shirt sizing used for features, Fibonacci sequence is used for story point estimation. Thank you.
Like, share, comment, and subscribe VNR Digital Learning Resource YouTube channel.